Welcome to Quiz Quizzy. From history to pop culture, how much do you know about the United States of America? Which U.S. state has the longest coastline? Alaska. Which U.S. state was the last to join the Union? Hawaii. The Louisiana Purchase was made from which country? France. Which USA city hosted America's first World's Fair in 1876? Philadelphia. What mountain range separates much of California from Nevada? Sierra Nevada. Who was president during most of the Great Depression? Franklin D. Roosevelt. The Mason-Dixon line became associated with which division? North versus South. Which amendment abolished slavery in the United States? th Amendment. What year did the United States enter World War I? In 1917. What was the main goal of the Marshall Plan? Rebuild Europe. Which American music genre originated in New Orleans? Jazz. Which music genre is strongly linked to Nashville? Country. Who was the first U.S. president to resign from office? Richard Nixon. Which doctrine warned European powers against further colonizing the Americas? Monroe Doctrine. Which Cold War program aimed to land Americans on the moon? Apollo program. The Dust Bowl mainly affected which U.S. region? The Great Plains. Which American company popularized smartphones? Apple. Who wrote the majority of the Federalist Papers? Alexander Hamilton. What 1962 event nearly led to nuclear war? Cuban Missile Crisis. The Vietnam War ended for the U.S. in which year? (1973). Which doctrine aimed to stop the spread of communism after World War II? Truman Doctrine. Ellis Island is located in which body of water? New York Harbor. Which American movement fought for women's voting rights? Suffrage movement. Which U.S. state produces the most corn? Iowa. Who was the first African-American Supreme Court justice? Thurgood Marshall. The Apollo 11 moon landing occurred in what year? (1969). Which U.S. naval officer helped open Japan to the West in 1853? Matthew C. Perry. The original 13 colonies were mainly located along the Atlantic coast. Which U.S. city is known as the Windy City? Chicago. Which U.S. president issued the Emancipation Proclamation during the Civil War? Abraham Lincoln. Which state is home to Mount Rushmore? South Dakota. Which American film reflected Cold War nuclear anxiety? Dr. Strangelove. Which amendment guarantees freedom of speech? First Amendment. Which river is the longest entirely within the United States? Missouri River. Which American movie popularized fighter pilot culture in the 1980s? Top Gun. Which social movement peaked in the U.S. during the 1960s? Civil rights movement. Woodstock, 1969, took place in which state? New York. The U.S. Constitution was signed in which city? Philadelphia. What American fast food chain popularized the drive-thru nationwide? McDonald's. Who was the U.S. president when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991? George H.W. Bush. Which state has the most active volcanoes? Alaska. Which cable network reshaped music television in the U.S.? MTV. Which U.S. holiday commemorates the end of slavery? Juneteenth. Which American singer is known as the King of Rock and Roll? Elvis Presley. The Pentagon is located in which state? Virginia. Which scandal led to President Nixon's resignation? Watergate. Which U.S. city is famous for Silicon Valley? San Jose. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from France. Which state is known as the Sunshine State? Florida. Which U.S. war followed Iraq's invasion of Kuwait? Gulf War. Uncle Sam salutes you. Now claim your freedom by subscribing.